You know, it's never too early to do a way too early top 25. That's why they call it a way too early top 25. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. I do videos every single day, sometimes college football, sometimes college basketball. And the best way to support the channel, hit the subscribe button. I always love doing these way too early top 25 polls. Number one, I really love doing this, so it's not really work to me, even though I'm doing a lot of writing and a lot of research. And the second thing is, it can actually change before the season starts because players get injured, maybe an unexpected opt-out, or declaring for the NFL draft, stuff like that. So even though this is my first one, it won't be my last one before the season starts. Here we go. Before I get into the actual way too early top 25, I'm going to list the teams that were on the edge but didn't quite make it into my top 25. And there's 10 teams. Utah, then Appalachian State, Boise State, Purdue, I think they're going to be much better, Michigan, Texas, Louisville, look out for Louisville, Memphis, West Virginia, and Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina was close to making it, but they lost just a little too much. Number 25 is going to be LSU. Last year they finished 5-5. Of course, we all know their raspy voice coach, Ed Orgeron. They have 8 returners on offense and 8 returners on defense, so some nice experience coming back. And they have a decent new offensive coordinator in Jake Peetz, because we all know their offensive coordinator resigned and they fired their defensive coordinator, which they're still looking for that position. On offense, that's where LSU is going to be good. They have quarterback Miles Brandon. That's a big deal. They have wide receivers Kayshon Boutte and a lot of running backs coming back. Tyrion Davis-Pierce, John Emery Jr., Chris Curry. So I think the offense is going to be fine. It's just, can they figure out the defense? Because they will have a ton of experience coming back, but they don't have a defensive coordinator right now, and their defense wasn't all that great. That's why I have LSU at number 25. Number 24, and I hesitated to even rank this team, but I couldn't knock them all the way out. Number 24, Florida. Head coach Dan Mullen. He's a character, ain't he? They have 5 returning on offense and 7 returning on defense. So they might be better on defense this year. And if you're a Florida fan, whenever I say that, you're like, oh no, that's not good. If our strength is going to be defense, then we're not going to be good. Hold on. I do think the offense is going to take a massive step backwards because they do lose quarterback Kyle Trask. They do lose tight end Kyle Pitts. And they lose a ton of wide receivers. But they do have a lot of experience on defense, and maybe they can rely on that defense while that offense is getting figured out. We'll see, but Florida, I don't know. I just don't know. Number 23, Kansas State. Last year, they finished 4-6. They have a head coach in Chris Kleinman. He is championship material. Of course, he came from North Dakota State, and they won the FCS year after year. They have 6 returning on offense, 7 returning on defense. The most important piece, quarterback Skylar Thompson, he has said he will be back in 2021, but he will be competing with quarterback Will Howard, so that might be a nice little competition. Plus running back Deuce Vaughn, he's explosive running and catching, so I think Kansas State's offense is going to be one of the best in the Big 12. Defense does need to get better, but most of the production will be back. That's why I have Kansas State at number 23. Number 22, a team that we've forgotten about, UCF. Last year they were 6-4, which actually isn't that bad. Head coach Josh Heupel has a lot of opt-outs that opted out last year coming back. So don't let these numbers of only 6 returning on offense and 5 returning on defense, don't let that fool you, because a lot of players opted out last year and they will be back. And we will see the team that UCF was supposed to be in 2020 this year. It all starts with Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback, returning. That's why I have UCF ranked, because this is what we were supposed to see last year, because a lot of their players opted out. Number 21, Missouri. That might surprise some people. Last year they finished 5-5. They have 7 returning on offense and 7 returning on defense. They do have plenty of quarterbacks to choose from, but most importantly, Connor Bazelak, he will be back. They have a ton of wide receivers coming back, most notably Chisholm and Hazleton, and their defense should be solid because they are returning most of their leading tacklers, but it does hurt that they lost defensive coordinator Ryan Walters. That needs to be figured out. Number 20, Ole Miss. Last year, they also finished 5-5. Lane Kiffin has shown he can inject offense into Ole Miss, and that's exactly what he did. And he has 8 returning on offense and 9 returning on defense, so a lot of experience coming back. Quarterbacks Matt Corral and John Plumlee will battle. We'll see who emerges out of that. They do lose wide receiver Elijah Moore, but gain wide receiver Braylon Brown, so that's a pretty even swap out. We'll see. Offensive line will have 4 of their 5 starters from last year, so they'll have great chemistry. The defense is the question, but let's face it, they can't be any worse than last year. So even if that defense is just a little bit better, I think that's worth at least 2 or 3 wins for Ole Miss. Number 19, this one might surprise you. This is a big fall from 2020. Notre Dame, they finished the season 10-2. Head coach Brian Kelly, of course he's great, but they only have 3 returning on offense, 6 returning on defense. They pretty much lost everybody on offense, but Notre Dame's strength has always been their defense. And they did get Wisconsin quarterback transfer Jack Cohn, so that could help. And they also get running back Kyren Williams back. So it's not all lost on the offense, but a lot of it is. Number 18, another big tumbler, Texas A&M. They finished the season 9-1. Head coach Jimbo Fisher paid off big dividends last year, but this year I think they'll take a step back. They returned 6 on offense and 6 on defense. Quarterback Kellen Mond, he's gone, and the offensive line will take a step back. They lost 3 of their starting offensive linemen, but the good news is running back Isaiah Spiller, tight end Jalen Weidermeyer will be back. So that's a couple of good pieces, and really the only problem on defense is replacing Bobby Brown. So maybe that defense will give them a chance. We'll see. Number 17, USC. They finished the season 5-1. Clay Helton not quite panning out yet, but he could have a better year this year. He returns 8 on offense and 8 on defense. Defensive coordinator Todd Orlando has shown that he can provide a good defense for the Trojans. I think the defense is good to go. Nothing to talk about there. Solid. I do think quarterback Keenan Slovis will be better, but they did lose some talent on offense, so it is a little bit of a question. Number 16, Liberty. They finished the season 10-1. Hey, they have a great head coach. That's the first thing. Hugh Freeze, he's good. They return 6 on offense and 7 on defense, so they don't lose a lot of people either. And the biggest talent coming back is Malik Willis, their quarterback. That guy is amazing. They also get running back Josh Mack and tight end Johnny Hantley back as well, so it's going to be a good offense. Defense will be really good. They added linebackers Rashad Harding and Casey Seegers, and a couple of good defensive backs in Skylar Thomas and Cedar Stone. So the Flames will be right there. Maybe not quite as good as they were last year, but maybe they will. That quarterback is amazing. Number 15 is going to be Iowa. They finished the season 6-2. They returned 7 on offense, 6 on defense. Quarterback Spencer Petras and running back Tyler Goodson. That in and of itself is good for the offense. O-line will be good to go. They added center Tyler Linderbaum. The defense will be fine. They will have to figure out the D-line. Zach Van Vellenberg, he'll be the anchor of that defensive line. Iowa will be good on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Number 14, Miami. They finished the season 8-3. Head coach Manny Diaz, I think he has this program pointed in the right direction. I really do. It's just, can they take that next step? They return 9 on offense and 7 on defense. The offense begins and ends with D'Eriq King. He suffered an injury, but he's expected to be back for the start of 2021. So this prediction totally hinges on D'Eriq King. You also get wide receivers Romello Brinson and Jacoby George. Now, the defense, that does need to be figured out. It's getting overhauled, but last year they were not good, and Miami had a decent season. So if they can improve even just a little bit, I think Miami could end up being a top 10 team. They get a Tennessee transfer in DeAndre Johnson, and they also have defensive tackle Leonard Taylor and linebacker James Williams. So they do have some pieces. It's, can they put it together? Number 13, this one might surprise you as well. Penn State, I think they rebound nicely. They were 4-5. Head coach James Franklin, he's a good head coach. People forget that. They do get quarterback Sean Clifford back, and running backs Noah Cain and John Lovett. A ton of experience on the offensive line should provide Sean Clifford with a lot of time to throw and some holes for those running backs. The secondary does lose talent, but they do have the South Carolina transfer Dixon, the Duke transfer Tangelo, and the Temple transfer Ibigitre. The questions will be on defense. Otherwise, Penn State's good to go. Number 12, Louisiana. They finished the season 10-1. Head coach Bill Napier was tempted to leave Louisiana, but he has made a commitment and he is staying. They returned 9 on offense and 8 on defense, including quarterback Levi Lewis. This guy can pass and he can run. Wide receivers John Stevens Jr., Reginald Johnson, but they do lose some pieces on defense. But still, a lot of talent coming back. 8 returning starters will be back. And the biggest thing, they didn't lose any key position players on offense. Number 11 is going to be Wisconsin. They finished the season 4-3. They have 8 returning on offense and 7 returning on defense. Quarterback Graham Mertz, he'll be back. He got things going. And we forget, Wisconsin was pretty much playing on one leg in 2020. They'll be at full strength. I think this is going to be a good team. Watch out for wide receivers Danny Davis and Kedrick Pryor, and their defense will be just as good as it was in 2020. Look for Wisconsin to sneak their way into the top 10. Number 10 on my list, Washington. They finished the season 3-1. They had some COVID issues. They returned 11 on offense and 8 on defense. That's a lot of experience coming back, including a quarterback battle between Sam Howard and Dylan Morris. That's going to be interesting. And 4 other quarterbacks to choose from. The line of scrimmage will be the strength of Washington, both on the offensive and defensive side. Now, the secondary is the only question mark because they did have to replace 2 safeties. But if they can cover that, Washington is going to be a very good team. Number 9, Oregon. They finished the season 4-3. They returned 7 on offense, 7 on defense, including quarterback Tyler Show. But he will battle quarterback Anthony Brown and quarterback Ty Thomas. So it's going to be an interesting battle in Eugene, Oregon. Good news is wide receiver Isaiah Brevard and Troy Franklin and Dante Thornton should anchor a great passing attack. And I think the defense will be at full strength. So watch out for Oregon in the Pac-12 North. That's going to be an interesting battle between Oregon and Washington. Number 7 going to be Iowa State. They finished the season 9-3. Matt Campbell has this team looking for a Big 12 championship again. They returned 10 on offense, 8 on defense. Quarterback Brock Purdy, running back Breece Hall, and all 5 of the offensive linemen are back. Iowa State's going to be a great offensive team. Look out, Big 12. Number 7, I have Ohio State. Head coach Ryan Day. He's a good head coach, not going to lie. They returned 6 on offense, 5 on defense, but they lost Justin Fields, Trey Sermon, and Chris Olave. All I can say about Ohio State is they have big holes to fill, but they always recruit great, so we'll see. Number 6, Cincinnati. They finished the season 9-1. Head coach Luke Fickell. The big schools will be coming calling for him later on. Can Cincinnati hold on to him? They returned 8 on offense, 7 on defense. Quarterback Desmond Ridder, he's back. Wide receiver Jawan Thompson and Jason Jackson, Trey Tucker. Great passing attack. The only problem for Cincinnati is they did lose their 2 dynamic safeties. As long as they can plug those holes on defense, Cincinnati could once again try to sneak into the playoffs. They didn't quite make it this year. Maybe they can get a little bit closer in 2021. Number 5 on the list, Alabama. Yes, I do expect Alabama to take a step back, but they probably will be contending for a playoff spot at the end of the year. Of course, they finished the season 13-0. Of course, they have the greatest coach ever in Nick Saban, but they lose a ton of experience on offense. Only 4 returners on offense, 9 on defense. So I think Alabama will be actually better on defense. So they might have to rely on that defense until they get the offense figured out. But with head coach Nick Saban, they'll always be in the mix. Number 4, North Carolina. They finished the season 8-4. Head coach Mack Brown has North Carolina thinking playoffs. They have 8 returning on offense, 10 returning on defense. On offense, quarterback Sam Howell. He's going to be a Heisman Trophy contender. Wide receiver Josh Davis and wide receiver Caffrey Brown and wide receiver Hugh Corrales. It's going to be a great passing attack. And of course, the defense returns pretty much everybody, so it's going to be good to go. Look for North Carolina to be bidding for that playoff spot. Number 3 is going to be Clemson. They finished the season 10-2. They do lose Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, but when we saw DJ Uiagalelei against Notre Dame, he's a pretty good quarterback. And Justin Ross will be back as well. Coaching staff is championship material. Of course, we already know head coach Dabo Swinney and defensive coordinator Brent Venables. 4 of their offensive linemen will be back, so I think Clemson has enough to contend for the ACC and a playoff spot. The top 2, these are the 2 that I'm really interested in. Number 2, Georgia. They finished the season 8-2. They returned 9 on offense and 5 on defense. Head coach Kirby Smart, I think he's got things figured out for 2021. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken, he's doing great at Georgia. They return a lot of firepower. Quarterback JT Daniels saying he's returning. A lot of great wide receivers in George Pickens, Jermaine Burton, Arian Smith, Kyrian Jackson, and newcomer Dominic Blaylock. And don't forget about tight end Darnell Washington. Their defense might be a tad shaky in the beginning, but I think that'll get figured out, and I think Georgia will be one of the best teams in the nation in 2021. Number 1, you probably already know because of process of elimination. Oklahoma. They finished the season 9-2. Lincoln Riley, great coach. He's going to have, for the first time ever, a second-year quarterback under his system, not a transfer. He recruited Spencer Rattler, and this is his second year. And, of course, defensive coordinator Alex Grinch has the defense figured out. They returned 6 on offense, 8 on defense, but the big thing on offense is quarterback Spencer Rattler, wide receiver Mario Williams, and running back Kennedy Brooks. Yes, they do lose Stevenson, and he was a good running back, but I'm telling you, Kennedy Brooks right up there with him. They did lose wide receiver Charleston Rambo to the transfer portal, but trust me, they're going to be fine on offense, and they have a lot on defense coming back. And that defensive coordinator reminds me a lot of Brent Venables. I just have this sneaky feeling that somebody is going to come and try to snatch Alex Grinch from Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma will be in the playoffs, and I think Oklahoma will be playing for a national championship in 2021. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.